Hi, this is Bissonette for another episode of Tips and Tricks. I was really excited. The last video that we made, I continue to kind of put into the comments, if you have questions or if there's certain things that you want to see, giving us the opportunity and chance to be able to go through some of those things and how I approach it and go from there. So one of the people out there mentioned that they wanted some more information on how to approach scary things with a horse. This is a very common one, I think, with people that are learning how to train around horses. The idea of tackling some of these things that might be scary for a horse tends to be a little scary for first-time horse people sometimes. And there is not too much mystery to it. There's not too many things. It's really not as scary as you're making it. I was reading Victor Frank's book, and he talks about essentially the things that you're afraid of will happen. So if you're afraid of sweating in public places, if you go into public places, you'll start sweating. And horses kind of feed off of that as well. Horses can feel our emotions. If we're afraid of something, they can feel and tell. The easiest way to see this is the next time you're having a bad day, come home and take a look at your dog. They are really receptive to emotionally what's going on, and it's not too hard for them to read and understand. The tricky part for them to read and understand, though, is what kind of fear you're feeling and trying to accomplish. For example, if I'm afraid to train this horse into the clippers or what we're about to work on, then he won't be able to tell that I'm afraid of that versus just I have fear that I'm bringing to the situation. So this is one of those deals where a lot of times, unfortunately, it's really hard, but understand through practice you can control your emotions. The ideas that you think will then in turn formulate your metabolical state, and essentially that is what you'll give off to these horses. Understand this: when you're approaching a scary situation, the horse doesn't want to run you over. Okay, if you continue to give them a place to go, they will much rather run away than run you over. So there's nothing to be afraid of in that situation. A horse will react a lot of times, and there's nothing to be afraid of there either. Now, the basic principle of this is when we are trying to desensitize a horse, we want to continue the action until the horse slows down. They get the reward once they slow down. If we want to sensitize, we release the action when they speed up. So with our cluck, we quit spurring once they speed up. Well, the opposite is true. If I want a horse not to be afraid of something, I'm going to keep on applying that something, whether it's clippers, whether it's hose water, whether it's who knows what, a tarp or whatever, until they slow down. Pretty soon they start realizing that the release comes, the reward is when they stop and take a look and think. Now, there's a couple cues that we need to have in place for this to have a chance of being successful. Again, just our basic lunging kind of sort of principles. When my hand is out here, the horse should be going around. When my hand is here, they should be faced up. Now, this is important because I can kind of cue the horse down. I can bump the horse down if my hand is down. If it's out, then they need to continue the circle. So it's kind of my visual cue for the horse of when to go and when they should just stop and stand there and not do anything. Now, to approach this idea of clippers and what I will look for and kind of how I've set this horse up currently, he's a little sweaty. He's at the end of his workout. This is another big mistake that I see a lot of people make, is they try to introduce something that might be scary at the beginning of the day, at the beginning of the workout, and the horse has all their energy to get away from that scary thing then. if you work that horse pretty decent beforehand and then go into the desensitizing part, they're on the lazy end of their workout. They want to be more lazy. They're kind of tired. They're kind of wore out. So those things aren't nearly as scary, and it kind of helps you get to that end product a little bit faster. So I've already worked him. I want to reward him when he slows down on this, and I'm going to introduce it while he's trotting and moving from a distance before I bring it in closer. Also, another big part to this, I'm going to pull the pieces apart. For example, currently I got a cordless shaver that I'm going to be using for this, but a lot of y'all might have one that you have to plug in. Now, people don't realize, they think that the horse might be scared of the clippers, and in all honesty, what they're scared of is the extension cord rising up. So I'm going to start out with the extension cord, see if that's what's scary with him, and then I'll move into the clippers. Both of these things I have never introduced to him, so I don't know if he's going to be a superstar. He seems to take the reward to being lazy pretty well, so I have a feeling he'll come to me pretty quick, but he might get a little startled at the beginning. But again, we're going to give him a safe place to go in that time before we bring the scary thing closer. So we'll go ahead, we'll get started here. So again, I want this horse to be able to walk around me. As long as this arm is out, he should be walking. When the hand is in, he should face up. From here, if I do anything, if I add any sort of pressure, he shouldn't go anywhere until I put that hand back out. Okay? Once that hand is back out, then he can move. That's an important concept that the horse has to know before we have a chance at being successful here. Now, the other thing to understand too, when you do decide to introduce these new things, do it on a day where you mentally know that you have all day to accomplish this. You have to accomplish some sort of win, some sort of progression before you release the horse. Otherwise, you'll make the horse more afraid of this. So I've never introduced this cord to my horse. I've introduced ropes to him, but I want to just love on him a little bit and show him this is the good deal. Kind of introduce it both ways. Now, when we're desensitizing a horse too, the guy that taught me, he was one of the things that he said, and it made a lot of sense. And it's a little bit different with him having the saddle essentially, but the strongest, toughest part of this horse is this top line. The reason why it's the toughest part of this horse is because that's what's initially exposed to all the weather. When it rains, it comes onto his back first. So he's used to getting pressures from the back first, and then we can work it from there. But currently, so far, doesn't seem to be any sort of reaction to it. Okay, we can bring that up. Okay, like we're going to be buzzing. No big deal. No big deal. Okay, I don't think we have any issue to worry about. If he does start kind of worrying, I might just trot him off. Trot him off, trot him off, trot him off, trot, trot, trot. Wait until he's kind of tired, kind of wore out, kind of seems like he wants to walk, seems like he wants to slow down. Once he kind of seems there, then I'll try to bring him back to me again. All right. And then every time we relax here, every time he's not working, then we'll reintroduce this thing that we're trying to desensitize him to and with. Okay, very nice. I don't know if you're able to hear through the mic, but he had a big old sigh there, so that tells me he's pretty okay with what's going on there with the extension cord. No issue. Cool. All right, so now we're going to move back to the buzzer, the clippers, and see if that maybe causes a little bit of a reaction. But before I introduce it, I'm going to get him trotting again. I'm going to get him trotting again before I introduce this buzzer. Okay, so trot him off this other direction. Trot, 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 trot. So if he does spook a little bit, he's able to just continue to go in the circle. Now, if he runs off, I'm just going to keep working this until he comes back to me. Once he comes back to me, then it won't be a scary deal. Okay, so here's the clippers. Now, this is another thing when introducing a horse to new things that I see some people make a mistake on. When they first approach the horse to it, it's like they come up to it like it's a scary thing and like they have to worry about it. Scary things, we have to approach like you are expected to not be afraid of it right from the get-go. So I'm going to get him trotting. I turn this buzzer on while he's trotting. Okay? He didn't seem to react at all to the noise. Doesn't seem too scary at all. So I'm going to let him relax here. And there we go. Oh, he's kind of checking it out. I'm saying, hey, it's nothing to check about, nothing to worry about. Ain't no thing. Okay? But before I introduced that noise, I was allowing him to move. Ain't no thing. Now, we'll send him this other direction. Now, I don't want the buzzer coming on when I cue him to move, because then he's going to think that's a thing to move. I wait until after he's moving before I turn on this buzzer. I drop the hand, so that means he needs to listen. I'm going to tell him, good job. Petting him just like I normally would when he quits moving. Good job. The only difference is that buzzer's going this time, but no thing. Every time he moves away, I'll just bring him back to me. If he seems to get afraid of it, then I'm going to just let him move again until he works some of that energy off. He wasn't very reactive. Things weren't very scary there, but a lot of times if we approach this and give them the really good opportunity to kind of, oh, now pretty soon I'm going to turn these clippers on and he's going to think, oh, let's stop. That's where I get my reward. Let's slow down. Okay? Just petting him like I normally would. Now, granted, I'm not going to do the bridle path on him because, well, I don't do my bridle paths on my horse. But as you can see, we can now move this buzzer, the clippers, right to where we would need them to be able to do the job. Very good. Very good. And it's no big deal. Now, we'll see. He's at a stop because ideally I don't want him moving at all. Turn on the clippers. He is thinking about it just a little bit, supported him just a little bit, and no big deal. We were able to introduce that without any scariness added to the situation. That's Carl Bissonette, tips and tricks on how I introduce clippers and water and bathing. All of those things, it's not much different. If they are afraid of it, just keep working it, keep working it, keep working it until they slow down, and then pet them out with that object. And pretty soon that object becomes the object of reward and not the object of fear. I understand that you know, he wasn't very scared there and it wasn't a whole lot of drama. But if you set that up at the end of the workout, if you have him moving before you introduce it, I think a lot of these issues that a lot of people face and see will be non-existent. It won't be an issue because it's not scary. It's not a big deal. And also, if you can find a way to control yourself and understand your horse is going to move their feet, that's okay. And you know, they might get afraid of it, whatever, no big deal. This is where you have to emotionally be ready to train the horse as well when you're introducing these scary things. I might, later on, another episode, I might grab another horse and see if it's potentially maybe a little bit more reactive and see if, you know, you can see what happens when that horse flings the head and whatever. But it's simple, I'm just going to correct it out and keep stepping in that circle until it's a no big deal kind of sort of thing. And then pretty soon, you know, the horse is searching that thing as a reward, as the opportunity for them to not have to work instead of having to work harder, which at the end, that's the end goal. That's what we want to accomplish. We want them to relax when they hear that foreign object or see something that's scary. We want them to go, oh, it's not a big deal. And that's kind of one of the ways that we can approach it not being a big deal. Also, if a horse needs a little extra support, if they need to build that bravery a little bit, what I'll do is when I introduce that noise, I'll actually walk forward with that noise. And psychologically, what that's doing is essentially it's freeing up that horse's feet. They realize they can walk and they're moving towards the thing that they think is scary. And that's kind of helps build their confidence. If you think it's scary, you know, to go climb mountains, the more you go climb mountains, the more you move towards that mountain, you'll get a little anxiety, but once you get it done and accomplished, then you can look back and understand that that wasn't a scary deal. So that's, again, my approach. When I'm introducing something new, introduce it at the end of the workout, once they've already given up some of that energy. Personally, you have to not be afraid to introduce it to your horse, okay? It's no big deal. The horse might move, whatever. If you're in a round pen or if you have some sort of, you know, space where you can do that, that's okay. They get away, then stop, grab the horse and rebuild again. Have the confidence that you can accomplish it. Work it at the end of the workout. And when you're introducing things, try to introduce it when they're moving and let that reward be when they stop. So again, that's Carl Bissonette, Tips and Tricks. If there's other things that you want me to cover and go over, feel free to throw the comments out there. And thank you again for messaging me on this one. And I hope that helps. I hope that helps give you the confidence. And if you have the confidence, you'll give your horse the confidence to not be afraid of new things that you're introducing. Thank you.